at building enterprise mashups. Next tool I'm going to introduce is PopFly. Wow, it's a new tool used to build games. PopFly was developed by Microsoft and launched in May 2007. It is a simple tool built on Silverlight technology and has a mashup creator which allows users to combine pre-built blocks to create web services. The tool can be used by non-programmers. Wow, isn't it exciting? Even you can use it. Microsoft used PopFly tool but it is not longer used. It was really used to make interactive games. But unfortunately, this method is no longer used to create games. But of course, you can use it. But still, PopFly is a cool software to make games. Now let's see some more tools. Let's consider Google Mashup Editor. Google Mashup Editor was developed by Google, is still being tested, and access to the software is limited to a small number of developers. It allows the creation of mashups using popular technologies such as HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and XML. Google Mashup Editor is now not available for the developers. I know that is something sad to hear, but they are planning to release it again. Now let's see the next tool, Serena Business Mashup. Serena Business Mashup, which is a mashup tool designed for creating visual models of automated business processes and tying these to existing services or applications. This is really used by the business people. Backend systems within the firewall, publishing the result to a mashup server or publishing to the cloud by subscribing to Serena's software as a service hosted offering. The next tool is Web Center Suite, which is developed by Oracle, is a tool used by developers to build mashups. Now let me teach you how to make your own web mashup. Isn't it interesting? The step 1 is to pick a subject. Pick a subject to get started in making mashups. First, pick an easy area to build a mashup. Don't pick complex areas first. It will be really hard. Maybe like a Google map which shows where coffee shops are available will be really interesting. To get a more idea, visit for mashup sites and look at some APIs built. It will give you some really good ideas. Telling you about the step 2, decide where your data is coming from. It's a really important part. What is the source of your data? This can drive the APIs you will use. For example, if you want to do something with your photos on Flickr or sales items on eBay, then those vendors' APIs are the likely candidates. Or you may be inputting the data yourself, such as with simple map markers, in which case your options are more open. Step 3. Weigh your coding skills. I'll explain this step in sub-steps. How much of a coder are you? It is really important. Nowadays, building mashups does not depend on your coding skill, because there are some tools such as Map Builder and Wayfinding that can help you create basic maps without coding. This depends on the complexity of your API and the source that you are going to mash up. How much time do you have is the next sub-step. It is really important. Again, the development speed is inversely proportional to complexity. So always try to manage your time. The next step is, do you have a server to run this on? When choosing a server, you should be really careful about the language that you are going to select. For an example, simpler APIs can be used from JavaScript in a web page or take specially formatted XML files as input. This is indeed simple, but security issues limit JavaScript suitability for true client-only mashups. Odds are that you will need to run your application from a web server which you manage or have access to. Then, what language will you use? Okay, now we introduce you many languages. Now let's see what is suitable. This is primarily driven by what programming languages you know. Your decision may depend on the toolkits provided by the vendor. You can use the API reference to see if an API has a language-specific toolkit. For an example, such as Flickr, which has many. The major step 4. Sign up for an API. Most but not all API providers require you to have a developer application ID, a user account with their service, or both. Some services give you one ID for as many applications as you write, while others require you to get an ID for each application that you create. That's impossible. While this sign-up may sound complicated, and for a few services it is, but of the time this takes only a minute or two to complete. As an example, take a look at Google sign-up page. Now let's see the step 5. Start coding. For this step, the big one. Rather than describe the many variations in detail, I'll refer you to a variety of well-written and useful API-specific tutorials and introductions. You can also check the profile for any of the APIs and refer to resources from the reference sections as needed. Actually, from our next introduction part 2, we are going to introduce the step 5 majorly. Now let's see the available types of mashups. There are many types of mashups used in the World Wide Web, but mainly there are some few mashups used, such as consumer mashups, data mashups, business mashups, and enterprise mashups. Explaining further more about the consumer mashups, it is a combination of the different forms of media from multiple sources and combination of them into a single graphical interface. Normally, these mashups are used by day-to-day user for their day-to-day work. Want to see the crime scene areas? For an example of a consumer mashup is chicagocrime.org, which gets the crime areas from the crime department and displays this listing on a Google map by using a Google Maps API. The results displayed below are searches for latest reported crimes. The second mashup is data mashups. This is a combination of similar types of media and information from multiple sources into a single graphical representation. The third mashup is business mashups. It is a mashup that focuses on various forms of data aggregation into a single presentation. The fourth mashup type is enterprise mashups. Generally defined applications that combine their own resources, applications and data with other external web services. The areas use mashups. Mashups of US